And welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Brothers. Here you have your boy Derek. There you have your boy Joe.
Yo.
There you have your boy Ford.
What's up?
And there you have your boy Rand.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Cool. Before we get started, I just want to give a special shout out to Michelle Obama, just because, today, the inauguration of our 46th president, Joe Biden. But shout out to Michelle. If you know, you know. I don't have to even say anymore, but yeah, shout out to you, Michelle.
Stole the show.
She really had that drip, though. She really had that drip.
Bro, that drip was crazy.
Yeah, you can't. I seen a post. It was like, she that friend that you got to text before an event, like, hey, this is not your event. Don't come in here showing out. She definitely that person.
I think that's perfectly fine. I think she did everything that she was supposed to do. She said, I ain't the first lady no more. I can do what I want.
Facts. But yeah, shout out to her. Shout out to Joe Biden. Shout out to Harris, especially Harris for making history today, being the first African American, Asian American, as well as first woman, to be vice president. So shout out to her. But
shout out to 45th too. Shout out to 45th. Shout out to him.
Yeah, we not. Hey, listen, look, his term is over, so we don't even have to bring that name up anymore.
Yo, it's just going to dead ass skip. It's going to be 44, 46, so on.
Yeah, that's how it's going to go. But nah, we going to get on. We want to get into the topic of this episode. This topic was brought up on the episode of the last episode of 2020. I've mentioned it a little bit. Just about Christianity, and just want to get into that subject. I think before we even get started, everybody on here do believe in God. All of us are believers and everything like that. All of us have our own story. All of us have our own spiritual connection with God and everything like that. But I kind of wanted to bring this topic up just because I feel like there's questions that people don't ask Christians, or if they do, they don't, talk about it in public, maybe because it, put a bad taste in people's mouths and everything like that. But honestly, with this episode, I probably won't even be doing most of the talking. We got two spiritual people on this podcast with us, Ford and Duran. They, traveling angels and everything like that involved with the church. But yeah, so we're gonna get right into it and we gonna see how this episode go. But I think that
welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Arguments.
Right. I feel like it's gonna change into that. But I guess just starting off is like with y'all, like I guess one of y'all can answer first. What do it mean to y'all to be a Christian? Joe, you can answer too if you want.
Man, look,
Joseph my left right now, so
Joseph have a lot of spiritual stuff in here, man. He can sit back like he don't, but he do. I don't know.
Wait, say that again. My internet's all over the place. What happened?
Yeah, but you're a very spiritual person, man. Just listen to you talk sometimes. So don't sit back like you ain't got much to say.
No. I am, but
just because you go on 2 occasions, weddings and funerals and Easter homecoming,
See, yeah, that's my thing. Sometimes, my spirituality and my relationship with God is completely different from, I would say, like, y'all's. Like, I don't believe in having to go to church, like that. I believe that you go. I believe that you should go. I'm not gonna say that I don't think that you shouldn't go. I think that you should go. I think that it should be. If you can go to work and do whatever you want to do for 6 days out the week, you should be able to go to church on Sunday. That is my belief. Now, of course, as Duran just put me out there and exposed me to all our viewers and listeners, I don't do that except on funerals and weddings and Easter. But no, I just think that, like, well, you guys go. This probably will come up at a later point, but like we'll go into that later. But yeah, what is a Christian to y'all?
I mean, I've been in the church my whole life, man. So Oh well, go ahead, fool. Nah, brother, go ahead. You got.
Look at that, dude. They talking over each other. I ain't never seen this before.
Right. You know this episode about to be good. Go ahead, Ford.
See, I mean, I've been raised. I was like literally raised up in the church. So like to be a Christian to me is like being an example of who Christ is, and like to be an example of who Christ is, you got to live your life as Jesus lived his. Like it's a song that says, "I want to be more like Jesus," and basically it's all the characteristics of Jesus. And if you Acts chapter 11, you'll find all the characteristics of what a Christian should be. Now, there is a difference between Christians and church folk. Church folk are the wannabe Christians. Those are the ones
put it out there.
that will put. Well, I'm how I'm gonna say it. Church folk are the ones that would mostly steer the young folk away from the church. Church folk are one of the main reasons why there are not as much youth in the church as it should be.
What's church folk like? Explain.
Yeah, I'm about to ask, like, how can you tell exactly the difference between a church folk and a Christian?
Christians, they live their life according to the word of God. Mind you, Christians are also human. Of course, they're gonna mess up. But church folk will come to church just to see who's there, just to see.
Oh, okay.
Just to see,
what people got on.
Yeah, what people got on,
and judge them accordingly to what they wear.
Yeah, and this is how you can tell the church folk from the Christians. The preacher is preaching in the church. Christians, when somebody walks through the door that haven't been to church in a long time, Christians really won't pay them no mind. They'll keep on listening to the word of God. Church folk will turn around and see who comes to the door, and you'll see them whispering. Saying,
hey man, homeboy ain't been to church in about 2-3 months, man.
Church folk will get on the telephone and after church say, I can't believe Pastor said that day in church. They'll go call somebody who won't even at church.
Church folks will get mad when preachers stomp on their toes.
Yeah.
That's church folks for you.
And church folk will criticize everything about the church, but still go every Sunday.
That's true. I actually agree with that. Like that's one of when you like think about like the reasons why people like just stop going to church. Honestly, I think it's like some of the reasons you just said is because of not necessarily they like lost their belief or anything like that, but it's just the people that's in a church. You know, I truly like, especially being at the institution that I'm currently at, you know, I feel like it's a lot of hypocrites when it comes to, you know, being a Christian and actually living out the word or, you know, stuff like that. And when you talk about how people in the church is judging people, like I think I actually wrote this down. I wrote a scripture down, fellas. You should be proud of me.
This man wrote a scripture down and
yeah. You should be proud of me. Because you know, I don't read the Bible like that, but you know, I had to be prepared. But it was Matthew 7, 1-2. It says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." And that's kind of like just because like the preachers too, as well as the people that go to church, like I get a vibe from people that I just know they're not authentic at all. So that's kind of like part of the reason like I rather worship God, you know, individually than having to go to church and actually listen to somebody else preach the word when I know, or you know, me personally, I know like they don't really live by the things that they're trying to teach me. You know, that's kind of similar to outside of church, like school and everything like that. You got to be careful of who, you know what I'm saying, who you get your lesson from and everything like that. But yeah, that's one of the reasons. As a Christian, do you disregard science?
No, go to the doctor.
How about you, Ray?
Nah, I mean because he threw me off. He threw me off with no. I go to the doctor, but no, I don't.
Oh my God!
Nah, I don't disregard science because God Himself is the creator of all things. You know what I'm saying? So, who created science? You feel me? So He put that to me. He put that in place. No, I don't disregard science because He put that in place. And like for us, if we go to the doctor. But who's your main doctor? Who is the one who really healed the sick? You know what I'm saying? So if you know him for yourself and you pray to him for healing and it comes to you. So I believe firmly it comes from God, but I do believe in science of it all. I don't disregard the science at all.
How about you, Joe?
I mean, you got the whole argument about dinosaurs, and you don't believe in those.
What they got to do with this topic?
You asked me, do I disregard science? Like you asked me, like as a Christian, do I disregard science? Like, nah, like I believe in dinosaurs. Like we had that whole conversation. To say that this is what I feel in terms of science and Christianity.
Please don't get him started on dinosaurs.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna keep it short too. So like, they say that between evolution and everything like that, like there's a discrepancy between the conversation of evolution and the concept of Christianity. How man was created from them, and then what science says. But my thing is like exactly what Rand said. Why can't it be both? Like, who's to say? My problem with humanity is that we try to know so much, and in the process of knowing so much, it's like you get further and further down that rabbit hole. At the end of the day, I don't think it was meant for us to know how we were put on here. I think that it was just meant for us to do God's will, if that makes sense. Like, whether we came from monkeys or whether we came from, Adam and Eve, whether we came from whatever, cavemen or whatever, dirt, clay, women from the rib, it's the concept is still like, just be a good person, like just do God's will. So like, I don't think you can disregard science. I mean, science is science. Like, science is fact. Like it's some that's experimental, some that's like theoretical, and then it's some that's factual. Like you can obviously see it. Like this is science right here. We're talking on the computers. Science is what Forrest said earlier. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, well, I guess like to like elaborate on that question. Of course, you can depend on science now in this day and age. Mm-hmm. But when you are talking about like the creation of the world mm-hmm. and everything like that, do you disregard it then, or how do you? But that's, you know what I'm saying.
But my thing is that like with that conversation is that everything is set up. If you take everything into how it is today, every single thing that your body has a purpose, right? Like every single function. Like I think like maybe one organ doesn't, and that's like the appendix or something. One organ doesn't serve a purpose, but I think they say that it used to, but it doesn't anymore, and it's just still there. Everything is literally created to literally serve a purpose that combines and is like part of this system. Who says God didn't? How could you disregard God when you think of something like that? Because even as a man, even as the smartest individual here on this planet right now could make something and still make a mistake. It's still going to be imperfect. It's still going to be a problem with it. They make $1,000 iPhones and then something goes wrong with them. All right. And the Apple supposed to be the best of the best. You sit there, you got like, it's always something that's going to go wrong because man made it. But God literally created like everything to the point where we're the third planet from the sun. It's the right enough temperature for life to form. Like that's gotta be you. Not saying that science had nothing to do with that, But how could you sit there and say that, like what Rand said, like God had to make science because science is so perfect when you think about how intricate every little detail is. And I think that that's the conversation that needs to be had. I'm sure the Big Bang happened. How do you know God ain't just sneeze one day? Like, how do you know these things? Like, how do you know he just didn't boom? There it goes. There it is. Like, I mean, we don't. We, you know, and that's and I'm okay with that. I'm okay not knowing. But I think it's kind of difficult to not see how they go hand in hand because, like I said, everything's so perfect. I know my internet is kind of wonky right now. I might have to get off and get back on.
No, yeah, you're good right now. And I think with this episode, I agree with everything that everyone is saying. I kind of, well, once again, like I said at the beginning, I do want to play like that devil advocate role, just to be able to ask those questions that I feel like people are afraid to ask, you know, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to religion and everything like that. And speaking of that, like, do you, like, would y'all consider yourself, I guess you can be both in a sense, but would you lean more towards spirituality or would you lean more towards religion?
That's a tough question right there, man. Spirituality. I'm gonna tell you why. Because you have a lot of different denominations and stuff like that, and they believe in a lot of different things. Yeah. And you have a lot of different religions as well. But ultimately, you still sending praise and you still doing the will of the same God.
Right.
You know, yeah, we believe in Jesus as Christians. You have Muslims who believe in Allah. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's still the same God. I mean, I could be wrong in that, but that's just my opinion because at the same time, you're still praying to a higher power. And that higher power still sees you through whatever you're going through and helps and guides you through whatever you're going through. And always there walking with you, talking with you, and helping you get through whatever it is that you're going through in your life. So ultimately, man, it you know, prayer still changes things, and whatever God you pray to is still helping you and lead you and guide you along the way on your journey.
Thanks. What about you, Ford?
I'm gonna have to go with Durant on this one, as being, you know, spiritual, because I've done some research on like different denominations. You know, even though I grew up Baptist, I've done research on Baptist, Church of God in Christ, Seventh-day Adventist. Lord knows I had a history with that. And a couple others, and like it's bits and pieces of each one that I don't agree with. There's a lot within the Baptist that I don't agree with, even though I grew up Baptist. But that led me to have to get to know God for myself. So I had to put myself away and get to know God for myself, and not just know God from what I hear in church or for what my mama taught me, for my grandma taught me. I had to actually have a relationship, build a relationship with him, and have a relationship with him myself. Because at the end of the day, when it comes all down to it, mama and daddy ain't gonna be there to answer for you when God call your name. So I had to get in a relationship with him. So that's why I consider myself as more spiritual than religious, because it's a lot of stuff that goes on within. Even though I go to church as much, even is like this coronavirus is killing me right now because I can't go to church. But even though I go to church as much, it's a lot of stuff in the church, especially in the Black church, that I do not agree with.
So I missed the part that got us into this.
Yeah, so
I was like, so refresh me real quick.
Yeah, so to catch you up, pretty much I asked. Yeah, I think you got off as soon as I asked the question, but pretty much I asked. Of course, you can kind of be both, but I asked, like, would you, like, do you lean more towards spirituality or do you lean more towards religion?
Okay. So all right, based on that, going by what Ford said. So Ford, how do you suggest handling hypocrisy within the church? Like the people that the Christians that I feel like judge us like we're not supposed to be imperfect creatures. Like we're not supposed to be born in sin and everything like that. Like you know what I'm talking about. Like they got their nose in the air, like the church folk, basically, yeah. Like
you mean the people? I said this before earlier. The people who I had that thing
he
for.
was on the phone earlier talking about
who act like you don't have a past to where you at now.
Yeah,
act like you didn't make the mistakes along your way to get to where you at now. Like you've been perfect all your life.
So what about that? Like that's like my biggest issue.
Those I see those people as they're pointing out your flaws because they haven't dealt with the skeletons in their closet.
Okay.
So they trying to tear you down because they haven't really fixed it up with Jesus themselves. If they have fixed their past and they won't still, trying to run from their past and holding on from their past and dealing with their past, they really won't be worrying about you. Instead of them tearing you down, they'll be lifting you up and praying for you instead of tearing you down. And so people that does that, those are not actually Christians, because Christians don't tear their brothers and sisters down. They lift them up.
I got another question for you, if you don't mind, Derek.
Oh, go for it.
So you two were pretty much like raised in the church, like early on, and y'all involvement is of course very on a deeper level when it comes to like participation within the church. Would y'all make y'all kids be as involved as you? And how would you handle your children not having the same faith as y'all?
Well, I got two ways to put it. A lot of time you hear older generations be like they wasn't being taken to church, they was drugged to church, they were made to go to church. My whole feeling on that is, you got to, like Ford said earlier, you got to get to know him and find him for yourself. So, making someone who to do something that you want them to do by dragging them there, maybe later on in life they're going to deter from that, even though they'll say, train up a child in the way they should go so they won't depart from it. But at the same time, you pushing them and cramming them into that might still draw them away. So, if they find a way to get to know him and get in that involvement for themselves, it'll be good. I wouldn't say I would force or make, or drag, because like I said, I really don't want. I want them to find their own way, in a sense. So and as I guess as a parent, you don't want to ever put your child down from something like that. So if they want to go, they go. So
what will they tell you they don't believe?
Well, that's their belief. That's their, so that's what they want to believe in. That's what they want to believe in. Because like Ford said earlier, I'm not going to be able to answer for them. If I die, my soul be lost, blame on me. You know what I'm saying? All I can do is let you know what's up. Now, at that point, it's your choice.
You better. You know what? Honestly, I asked myself this. I was like, I don't know what I would do if my kid told me, like, I don't believe in God. Because I would say that, like, I'm like, God is everywhere. Like, you woke up this morning, you got to work safely, you got home safely. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't walked down the sidewalk and get shot. You ain't walked down the sidewalk and your heart gave out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so to hear you, say like, to hear you be like, that's their choice.
It's gonna mess with me a little bit, but it's your choice. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? How can I sit here and hold that against you? I'm not the one to judge you. I don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. So.
Yeah, and I found out that most people that say that have turned away from the church and say they don't believe in God is because that the people in the church have hurt them, and so they mainly base God on the people who in the church, and they haven't really got to know God for themselves.
You know what?
But I bet you one thing. I bet you one thing though, Joe. If something happened to them in their life, and they realize that it was only God that brought them through that, I guarantee you, their whole mindset gonna change.
Yep.
You know, what's crazy is that um, I found a lot of people that don't believe in God. They'll blame, they'll blame, like they'll say, well, I don't understand how God can let this happen to me, or how it could like let this happen to this person. And I'd be like, you confusing God with like earthly problems. Like I was like, you got to realize like it's a separation between what we as humans do and what we allow versus what God has planned for us as well. And what I mean
That's right.
by that is like, you said that a lot of people want to make mistakes for themselves. A lot of people want to sit back out here and go out here and do what they want to do, and then they don't want to acknowledge the fact that there are consequences for your actions. And then they want to be like, well, if there was a God, he wouldn't let this happen to me. And I'm like, hold on now. God ain't say he was gonna pull you out of trouble. God said he'll be with you every step of the way, but that don't mean he was gonna pull you out. And I find a lot of people when we have these conversations. I know like a couple people that say they don't believe in God. It's like I just don't think like they don't know God for themselves. I'm frozen, man.
We can still
Y'all
hear
hear
you.
me?
We can still hear
There
you.
y'all go. Yeah, it was like Derek was like this. He was like, I was like, man, all right.
No, but if you
yeah.
finish, Joe, I do want to like kind of piggyback off for like everything y'all just talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Joe actually asked a good question. That was kind of like some of the questions that I had. But to answer my own question, I do lean more towards spirituality than religion. I think when it comes to, I think when you associate yourself with just one religion, I think you kind of limit your thinking, and you can kind of become closed-minded to like other people's beliefs as well as perspectives. Like Rand was saying, like people got all these different gods and everything like that, all these different religions that's out there. Maybe they call them something different, but maybe that's maybe the same God that we worship. They just have a different name for it. So when you strictly focus on one religion, it's like you don't even care about everything else that people believe and everything like that. And I think when Ford was touching on just people in the church, how they deter people from going and everything like that, that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, like how people judge other people. And I want to had a follow-up question after Joe was talking, but Joe already pretty much touched on like non-believers and everything like that. As Christians, you know how people feel about the LGBT community and everything like that.
Cool, we bring that up.
Personally, I have no problem with who people love and who they choose to be with and everything like that. But solely as a Christian, how do y'all feel about that? Ryan already touched on like non-believers, but how do you feel about non-believers, that community? Like, how do you feel, like, personally, how do you feel about it?
Me?
Y'all two, both y'all.
You want to go first or me?
Oh, go ahead, Ford.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's a lot of the LGBT
It might be another saying as well as Q. I'm sorry, yeah, LGBTQ.
Yeah, LGBTQ. I mean, that's in the church. There's a lot of them in the church, but there is a lot of people who's against it because of what the book of Leviticus says. That's in the Bible. It says that it should be man and woman, and not man and not woman and woman. But also, think back to what we were saying earlier. We as Christians and as brothers and sisters, we don't have the right to judge one another based on their lifestyle. That's not up to us. That's up to God when at Judgment Day. So and so like, and this is where the church goes wrong at. They'll condemn a LGBTQ member for being bisexual, gay, transgender, or whatever. But then again, they'll turn around and pay LGBTQ musician to play for the choir or to direct the choir. You're condemning it, but you're also supporting it. So which one is going to be? And I've seen that a lot, especially within the Black church, because in Durang can tell you about us being out there in the church singing. It's some LGBTQ community members that's playing in the church, playing keyboard, guitar, whatever, and the church will pay them, will pay them good money to come to church and play keyboard or direct the choir every Sunday. But when they're not there, but when they don't show up to their church, the pastor of their church will get up and preach against them. But you just paid them last Sunday. You keep calling them to come play for the church. So which one is going to be? And by you being a man or woman of God, you shouldn't be judging them. You should be preaching Christ to them, lifting them up. Because at the end of the day, that's their life. As long as you preaching what the word says that's in the Bible, you done your part. Your part is not to judge them. So that's one thing that really irritates me about the church, because they say one thing but do another instead of just sticking to what the word of God says. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in church today that's not in the Bible or that's against the Bible, and it shouldn't be like that.
And Rand, before you go, if you did want to go, but that's kind of like what I was talking about, how with pastors or even just people in the church in general, how I feel like a lot of them is just not authentic. Like Ford was saying, it's like, which one is going to be? You know what I'm saying? I'm sure, like, if I ever said anything and it contradict with the stuff that I'm doing, I'm sure y'all three would tell me about myself. But I'm sure y'all can also vouch for me, and I can also vouch for y'all that everything that I've said, I live by. I'm sure y'all can vouch that for me, and vice versa. But that's kind of what Ford was touching on just now. Was what I was talking about in the beginning, just how I can feel the vibe of people, how I can tell like they're not authentic or not. They're not really living by what they're preaching or trying to preach to other people and everything like that. Rand, did you want to
go? Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of Ford, man. We a lot of people in the church, man, are there to criticize people and talk about people, especially about that community. But like he said, you'll have preachers get up and preach about it when they're not there, but they won't say nothing when they're there. You know what I'm saying? And like he said, you just, last Sunday you didn't pay them. This Sunday they ain't there, but you won't speak on it. And that's not cool. That ain't right. That's one thing, like he said, I disagree with. But we should love each other, man, and keep pressing forward in his name. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. It's something people may not like it, but like I said earlier, I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in, or to judge you by the life you decide you want to live. So, and that really deters people away from the church, like I said earlier.
Right. And I did want to comment on something Joe said earlier, just about like non-believers and atheists and just people like that. I truly believe, like, even if you don't believe in God, you have some type of spirituality in you. It's like we've been through stuff individually on our own, like, and we've been through that state. Well, we talked about it before, but I know Joe, just we've been through like that kind of like depression state and everything like that, and we got through it. It's hard to say you got through that solely on yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, you weren't alone.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's hard. You can't say that you got through those difficult times in your life without a higher power. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not by yourself. Honestly, spirituality is what it really was a major part in getting me through those moments. You know what I'm saying? Those down moments, just keeping that faith and continuing to pray that stuff is going to get better. And I'll talk about it later when I ask the question, but it's like you can't just have faith and expect stuff to happen. You have to have some type of action behind it as well. So don't just pray for stuff and expect stuff to fall in your hands just like that. Actually put in the work as well, but also keep the faith that you plant those seeds and you're gonna reap them later on in life. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have put those actions behind it. Joe, if you didn't have nothing to say, I want to go to the next question. Cool. So I did. So are y'all like familiar? Like, I'm sure y'all don't know it word by word, but are y'all familiar with the Bible and everything like that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Definitely don't know a word for word.
Yeah. Some people, people go to school for that stuff and they can.
I know somebody we should have had on this episode though.
I know a couple people that
on this episode.
Yeah, I know a couple of people. But I guess the question is, do you believe everything in the Bible?
No. And I might get some flack for it. No, I don't. Like,
no, go for it.
I feel like I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. My Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ. I pray every night before I go to bed to do the will that He has set for me on this earth. Every night, never fails. There have been nights that I could not sleep until I prayed, like I made my prayer. Do I believe everything in the Bible? No, because the Bible is man-made. With that being said, it was a tool that was used against African Americans in the times of slavery to manipulate and control the masses. And the number one way to control people is through religion, through their beliefs. Like that's how a lot of cults and stuff like that get started. Not saying that the stuff in the Bible didn't happen. I'm not saying that. I'm not discrediting nothing. I'm saying that I look at the Bible more as an instruction manual to tell me how I live my life, if that makes sense. I take the stories from the Bible and the people from the Bible, and I try to apply it in everyday life. Because I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that these things did not happen. Because the Old Testament God was a different type of God than the New Testament God. And I would not want the wrath of Him upon me at all. The Old Testament God was taking people out like it was nothing. Like He was, I don't want no parts of that. And I don't want to make Him upset. So I'm going to stay on His good side. But, nah, man, I just know like the history with the Bible and stuff like that, man. It's like you gotta, I wouldn't say take it with a grain of salt. It's like a conflicting part of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's like knowing the history behind something, but still having to support it. It's like Chick-fil-A. Like, we know what Chick-fil-A really supported from the sidelines, but we won't really stop eating those chicken sandwiches and nuggets? I can't.
No, you can't.
Oh, boy, I
I can't either.
But you know what? A lot of people don't realize the theology behind it.
Go ahead. Talk.
Because I took a class when I was at Southside, and it opened up a lot of things to me when you put it in a theology perspective. Like, it's saying He fed a multitude of people with 2 fish, 5 loaves of bread. But you got to look at the theology of it all. You know what I'm saying? We talking 5,000 people. 2 fish, 5 loaves of bread. But just look at the theology of it all. You got to really get that back, like you that background story of it all. You go to like a school of theology, you probably will get a whole different perspective of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? That just that one, and believe it or not, they tell you the Bible is actually bigger than what it is. Like what you have is all 66 books. It's more than 66 books. All you get is 66, but it's like I think it's like 70 something. I'm not sure. I can't remember the actual number, but it's actually some books that is not in there. You know, and you could go ask some preachers, man, they can't even tell you why.
Nah, yeah,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, going off of what Rain was saying, I have heard about there is missing information in the Bible. It's like you just talking about a couple books. Like what I've heard, you know, of course this is just what I've heard, but it's like it could be a whole nother separate Bible from the stuff that's like missing out of, you know, the current Bible and everything like that. But I personally agree with what Joe was saying. He pretty much took what I was thinking, honestly, about just how, you know, just how the Bible is man-made, and you know, it's kind of like how we you know, how we think about like the history books and everything like that. You know, maybe everything in there is true, and maybe they just leaving out stuff, or maybe, you know, they have their own narrative where, you know, that they want to teach people. And when you do talk about those Bible stories, like no one, maybe y'all can, because I haven't actually yet. No one can give me an explanation of how. I'm not sure if, you know, the specific person. I'm sure y'all can tell me, because I'm not too familiar with the Bible and that. How they can live. I don't know the exact age, but I know it was more than like 500 years. Oh, it was probably close to like 900, if I'm not mistaken. How you can live that long? Can anybody tell me that?
Through the power of God, all things are possible. I wasn't joking about that. I was being directly honest. I'm not. Moses parted the Red Sea. And out of everything in the Bible, I wholeheartedly believe it. I believe that there was a Noah's Ark. I believe all that. The stuff that I was like saying I don't believe, like, I mean, like you said, like it's like the history books. Hey, y'all, please move or say something.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good. Out, boy, because I was like, I know I need to read something.
We too.
Boy, y'all was so still. I was like, oh, here you go.
Yeah, I'm focusing, man. I'm focusing.
But like I said, like Jesus walked on water. He turned water to wine. I'm telling you right now, that man was killed and then was resurrected. Hey, he was the Son of God, and I'm gonna tell you right now. Like I said, through God, all things are possible. I am not doubting any of that. I just think that we as people, this goes back to what I said before. Since we want to know everything because it's human nature, and we don't get the answer, it's kind of like I don't believe it. It's kind of how you feel about the dinosaurs. And that's why I kind of keep referring back to it. You know, you're saying like, is there? No, you got to think of bro. Think about how Derek thinks though. Derek is a really factual person. Like I'm not saying that you got to put it in his face, no homo, for him to believe it. But like, but like, you know, he's like he wants that evidence, and I think that like there's nothing wrong with that. Like by all means, like that mindset would take you further than. Because you're not going to believe anything that anybody puts in front of you. You're always going to ask more questions, put yourself in a better position. But I just think that some things ain't going to be explained. I just don't. Not in our lifetime, like not in our existence on this earth. Because I promise you, when I get to heaven, Jesus, the Red Sea, man, the Prince of Egypt is hands down one of my favorite movies. It is one of my favorite stories. Just the story of Moses is one of my favorite stories from the Bible, because he had a stick and he parted some water. And to this day, I know all y'all used to be in the bathtub. Y'all used to take y'all fingers and the water guards the bottom of your fingers, and that's as much water as y'all was gonna manipulate because y'all won't go part no sea. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that, but it's like, like people saying like, oh well, where's the grave of Jesus, or where's the body, and blah blah blah. Like, you're not gonna find something like that, bro. Like it's just like I don't think you're ever gonna get an answer to your question. Is what I'm saying. I don't think you'll ever get an answer to your question during our lifetime. Like it's just something you're gonna have to ask God. It's the same reason why, like, he chose certain people to do certain things, and it's the reason he moves in such mysterious ways. Like it ain't meant for us to understand, and that's just my belief. I don't think that it's meant for us to understand. So it's not meant for us to know. Go ahead.
I was saying, I think for that reason that you just stated is the reason why we always going to have conflict when it comes to spirituality, religion, or anything else like that. Because, like, if it's not like, of course we could go back to like maybe like 1600s, 1400s, or whatever like that. But it's hard. Like it's hard to actually say something is a fact when it happened millions of years ago and everything like
facts.
that. You know what I'm saying? You can't. I'm sorry with that. I think that's a conflict with science, but I'm sorry, but I don't. Me personally, I don't care what you say. Like you can't say that's a fact. Maybe that's a good logic that you have,
or theory,
and that theory, that's your belief and everything like that. But I just don't believe that you can actually trace stuff back millions and millions of years ago. I just don't believe it. You know what I'm saying? And that could be a topic for another episode, but that's just my belief.
So you're thinking that some things are just lost in time?
It's just lost. Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't like. I just don't believe it. I can elaborate more. I won't talk about it in this episode, but yeah,
that would be a future topic.
Yeah. I think the last thing I do want to ask is let me get the question right. Why do people say we shouldn't question God?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever ask yourself, like, why shouldn't we question God?
Well, I mean, I think it's human nature to question, because you'll have a lot of times where things happen in your life. You'd be like, why God? Things bad, good, even good. You have people be like, why me? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just in human nature to say, why? Because like we always saying, we want to know why. We want more information. You know what I'm saying? But I think honestly, if you ask, you'll get your answer. I feel like he'll give it to you if you ask him for it. Just on certain things. I mean, because the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So you already know that. You just want to know why. But I think somehow, some way, you'll get your answer. You might not get it right then and there, but you'll get it.
Ford, did you want to chip in before?
Yeah. I often ask myself. Sometimes I like think certain things happen to me, and sometimes when things don't go my way, I do often. I ask why God, but then I realize that things happen for a reason, and I might not understand it right then and there, but then as life go along, God will start to reveal things. Hey, this happened for this reason. This happened for that reason. You went through this so you can get blessed with that. So, I mean, we might get frustrated. And have I got frustrated with God? Yes, I have. Have I asked him why? Yes, but did I stop believing? No. Because while I was going through a situation, I didn't feel like I was all alone. I knew that he was right there. And then when I went through that situation, he brought me out, and then he blessed me with a blessing. It was like, oh, that's why I went through that, because he was trying to build me up so that I could be able to receive this. Because like the old folks say, you can't have a testimony without having a test. So it's like we not things that we go through in life, the hard times, the bad times, good times, we're not gonna understand it right away. He's not gonna give us the answer right away. But it's an old song of the church that says we'll understand it better by and by.
I think to follow up, pick out what y'all was saying, I know when I asked, like, we all probably thought about it, it's like when there's a lot of crazy stuff that has happened in the world, in our lives and everything like that, and you just sit back like what the fuck, like, and you talk about lessons and everything like that. I truly believe there is a lesson in everything myself. But like Rand was saying, we are human. So this is kind of like a follow-up question. We are human. What if the lesson we get from it isn't really the lesson God is trying to teach us?
I don't think you'll get too confused.
Elaborate.
Because while, yeah, I feel like since we are human, we're limited. We're imperfect. It's just who we are. We're going to sin, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like if you know God, and, it goes back to what, we were talking about earlier about having that relationship with himself. I feel like when you know God, you just know. Because there have been times where I should have ended up in a worse situation than I was in. Or like things should have been way bad, or like way, way, way worse. But like when you sit back and you think about it, when everything is said and done, and when you really reflect, I think that's what the part of like meditating, and I think that's what a part of like you just talking to God, I think that's where all that comes into play. Sometimes you got to shut the world out and just be in tune with your spirituality, and you got to have that one-on-one. I think it makes a lot more sense, and I think I really believe he talks to you. Like there have been times, like literally there have been times where like I was just, I couldn't even explain it. I was just moved to do something. And it had to be God, because Lord knows I would have did it on my own. It was just, it wouldn't have got done. So when you refer to like whether it's the lessons that's meant to be learned, I feel like all lessons have to be learned, good or bad. That's just but if it's a lesson from God, you're not gonna, because it's all gonna make sense in the end. That clarity gonna hit you, and it's gonna be like, wow, so that's was it. Like,
yeah,
that's the lesson. I'm gonna end it with this. So Derek hasn't been to my house. Ford and Rand, you have. Derek, have you been to my house? I don't think you've been to my house. Have you?
I have.
Oh, okay. So I live up that super long dirt road. Super long.
Yeah.
All the way at the end.
I think I was with Rand when I came that
You right. Super long dirt road. All the way at the end. A mile long. Grandma said when she bought this house, she said her number one dream was to have a house on a hill. And she said that was her only thing. That was her only thing she wanted. But the way she had it in her mind was it was a hill and the house was on the top. So that's just what she wanted. But she was like, but God has blessed me with the opportunity to get a home. He's blessed me with the opportunity to get out of the projects. So I'm gonna take it because I know it's a blessing. I know it's meant for me. I know it's God. Grandma said that one of her friends always used to talk trash. Always used to say something smart. It was like, I don't know. This is what she said out her mouth. I don't know who you expect to come all the way up this long dirt hill to come see you. And Grandma was like, I do live on the hill. I feel like, and she said, God had blessed her with exactly what she had asked for. Everything down to the T. But we as humans fail to perceive it as the blessing because we have that closed-minded one image in our head. I asked God for a 9-to-5 job that utilized my degree in my office. It is some things about my job that I don't care for, but everything else, literally everything else to the T, is exactly what I asked for. When God talks to you and when he blesses you and when he does his work, you gonna know. Oh, you gonna know. When it's that lesson, it's gonna all make sense in the end because you're gonna realize I did this because of this. I went through this because of that. And it just clicks. And there's no other way to explain it. You just know, my guy.
For that.
And it's but it's all to do with your spirituality. Like, your relationship with God. How you talk to him.
Facts. But yeah, I think and we up to y'all, we can come back to this topic another time as well. I feel like it's a good topic. We can, it's a great topic to talk about. But
it's something you can go on about for hours.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
But we're gonna bring that conversation to an end, and we're gonna go into our last segment of this episode, No Cap, our usual, our fan favorite actually. And we're gonna let's bring it forward first.
Good. Okay.
What was that?
He was lean with it, rock with it.
Yeah.
It was some forward shit right there. I'm sorry. We had a whole conversation about Christianity and religion, and
don't worry about it.
My bad.
Derek already messed that up earlier.
Look, I didn't have anything else to say. I was like, so I was like, I might as well just say it.
Hey man, look.
It was two slip-ups. We did good. We did good with
this. We did good. We was on P's and Q's with this one. We was sitting up straight. We was like, oh.
I'm in my desk like paying attention, boy.
Next episode is gonna be a whole different vibe,
though. Fact, because I want a specific guest on the next one, but we're gonna talk about that later. Go ahead for it.
Okay, this is a disclaimer. I just came over with this maybe
2 minutes ago.
Okay. It's not really a no cap. It's just
Lord.
like a little comment going back to what we were talking about earlier.
Go ahead.
For those people who still like in between, like don't believe or want to know more or like confused on what it means to be a Christian, is the main misperception about being a Christian is that people think that being a Christian means that every day is going to be sunshine. And that's not so. Being a Christian can be one of the hardest things there is because you have to have faith every single day. Every day is not going to be easy. And that is the main reason why Jesus died on Calvary, because he died for our sins. He knew that we were going to have some bad days, some cloudy and rainy days. He knew that we was going to mess up. He knew that we was going to drop the ball. So he gave his life on Calvary so that we wouldn't have to pay for our own sins. He paid the cost a long time ago.
Yeah.
He forgave us for the sins before we even did commit the sins. So for people who think that it's going to be easy, it's not going to be easy. But with God, it's going to get better. That's not no cap.
Cool. Rand, what you got for us?
I actually just so happen to have two, man. No.
You say one, and that's it. You better choose the better of the two.
How about I say both, but only elaborate on one?
Let's compromise.
All right, good. The first one is I'm in the right position to get what I don't deserve.
Oh no.
Number two.
Wait. Elaborate on that one too.
Preacher.
Elaborate on that one too. I don't think they're ready for that one, bro.
That went over some people's heads. That went over some people's heads.
I'm gonna say they ain't get that one.
You gotta run that back.
It's a neighbor.
Look. I tried to catch it. I said, whoa.
Run that back.
Elaborate that one, Rand, because I don't think we got that one.
You're not gonna just speed that past that.
Yeah,
like he ain't just
speed past that. Like you ain't just say that.
Like you ain't spitting over there.
Like
you ain't spitting over there.
Come on, Reverend.
Go ahead.
Hey, look, he wanted to compromise. He wanted to compromise. That's it.
Nah,
forget that. Compromise. You get your way.
Shut up,
you
Joe.
Get your way.
Listen,
Joe ain't running this.
We are in the we are in the right position to get what we don't deserve. We don't deserve life. We don't deserve to wake up in the morning. We don't deserve the food we have on our table. But God blesses us enough with that roof over our head. He blesses us with that breath in the morning. He blesses us with the food, the clothes, and everything that we have. So we are in that position to get what we don't deserve because he blesses everything.
I got chills.
Preach.
With things that we do not deserve at all. We didn't deserve for him to die on Calvary, but he did. Love is what kept him there.
Oh, you better.
Rand going last again.
Hey, look,
swear to God.
We are in the right position.
Rand, nah, you can't. You can't say. You gotta say that last one.
Come on, man. I got one more, man.
You think the people need it?
Listen. No cap.
You think the people need it?
Yes, the people need it. No cap. Keep pushing through the storm that you're going through. Ford may have heard this story before, but it was a girl. It was a girl driving with her father. She was a new driver, so she's driving and it's beginning to rain. And she says, "Look, Dad, I'm gonna pull over, wait for the storm to calm down." He says, "No, continue to drive."
I've heard this.
So they continue to drive, and the storm gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Look, I'm gonna pull over because cars are starting to pull over. Rain's pouring down so fast." He says, "No, continue to drive." And the storm continues to get worse. More people are pulling over, but she continues to drive. And as she continued to drive, she comes to sunshine. And he says, "Look, you made it and kept pushing through the storm to make it to the sunshine. So don't give up because other people are giving up in their storm. Keep pushing till you get to the other side."
Come on,
damn. Why the hell you made me go after this man? Sorry, God. Why you made me go after this man? I'm about to have one of my
little episodes again.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I don't even want to go because I don't. Yeah,
I'm gonna say my no cap.
You need to shout music.
It's gonna be you wanna make sure you wanna have Rand go next. You know how it's supposed to go.
We're going back to the regular routine after this.
That's how we gonna have them.
Yeah,
we're gonna have
for the rest of the year. Rand is closing.
Nah, y'all two did this. Y'all want to have this episode.
I ain't think he was gonna hit us out the gate like that. I was like
that. See, he said that first. The first one, the last one he said it was good, but that first one. Boy, I'm about to go read the Bible. Go, what you got? What you got, Joe?
I don't even want to say it. I don't want to say my no cap.
I'll go.
I do have a no cap though. I would like to say it.
I wanted to go ahead and get this out before I forget it because I thought of this while we was having the discussion. So
go. I go last. All right. Go.
All right. So my no cap is I hate going out the rain, but my no cap is have as much faith in yourself as you have in God. You know, like I was saying earlier, faith. I've heard it saying that faith is dead without action. And so, like I was saying earlier, you know, you can have all the faith in the world, but you got to have some type of action behind it to back that up. And I do also want to say that, like, I personally feel like you can't be too spiritual, too religious, and everything like that. You become like unrelatable to people. So, you know, be able to relate to the people that you are trying to teach the word to, but don't force it on that individual. You know, let it come to them naturally and everything like that. But yeah, my no cap is just believe in yourself just as much as you believe in God. And Joe, you got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it on this one since Rand want to knock things out the park, and Derek want to do the same thing because that was still a good one. My no cap is no cap. You got to open not just your heart, but your mind to the Lord and His blessings. A lot of us have blessings. I call them pending. A lot of us have them blessings pending. They on the list waiting for us to receive them, but we have to be willing to receive them. We have to make sure that our mind, heart, and spirit is ready to receive the blessings of the Lord. I heard this story. This story from another podcast. He said that This dude was going through a real tough time. He said it was a real dark time in his life. He was just always down. He said he couldn't figure out what it was, though. He said it wasn't like he was broke. It wasn't like he was just like going through anything. He was just down. Like, how you just walking. Sometimes you got that cloud over top of you. You just can't get rid of it. He said that, he was going through one of them situations. So he goes to church. Talks to someone that's very spiritual, very religious. The person tells him to clean his closet. So he's like, why am I going to clean my closet? He says, they told him to clean your closet. He's like, well, why? And he's like, clean your closet so you can go in there, you can pray. So that's what he did. He went in there, cleaned his closet, and he went in there, started praying. As he's talking to God, the emotions start welling up. He starts crying, gets emotional. He said, after about an hour in the closet, he starts feeling better. Comes out the closet. Next day, maintenance guy shows up. A maintenance guy that he never seen before, never knew who it was, didn't have any idea about who he was or what he did. Comes up, even his uniform was different from the normal maintenance uniform. Sits back and he says that he's like, I'm here do a sprinkler check. And he was like, okay. So normal maintenance guy coming down the hallway, walking, looks, and is like, looks him up and down, confused, keeps walking. Guy, that lives in the apartment, he just ignores him and just keeps on going. So he's like, all right, well, where's the sprinklers? The maintenance guy tells him sprinklers is in the kitchen, in your closet. And he was like, oh, well, I got to clean my closet out. He was like, well, that's fine. I got to wait. I got to make sure your sprinklers are fine. Goes in there, cleans the closet out. While he's cleaning the closet out, he said the guy couldn't see inside his room. He's standing in the kitchen. Guy couldn't see inside his room. The guy says, hey, you play guitar? So the dude is like, well, how did you see that? You can't see inside my room. So he's like, yeah, I play the guitar. So dude's talking, like, yeah, man. He said, my father, he said, when I was down and out, my father taught me how to, he helped me use music and stuff like that. He kept referring to his father. And every time he would explain something. So the guy was like, man, who is this guy's dad? Cleans out his closet and everything like that. Goes in there, checks sprinklers, he's done. Says that when he comes out, the maintenance guy looks him in his eyes and he goes and he says, whatever you're going through, it will be okay. We heard your message and we will walk with you through this. So at this point, he is like, what are you talking about? Said that he grabbed the man's hand and he felt his whole arm go numb. And he said it was literally like, he said it was a common experience, which he couldn't even explain. He said that after that, he just starts crying. And the maintenance guy is like, yeah, let it out. Get it out. We with you, we're here for you. So he sits back, he said, after all that, he lets go of his hand. He returns back to normal. He said, hello, my name is Jacob. He said, I'm gone. I'll talk to you later. So after this, he tells his friend, his spiritual partner, and everything like that, telling her what happened. She says, you met your angel. But he wouldn't have been, if he wouldn't have went in that closet, cleaned that closet out, he sat down, had that conversation with God, and was like, all right, I'm here, I'm vulnerable, I'm ready to receive whatever you give it to me. He would never have had that encounter. He never would have got that experience. He never would have met his angel. You got to be willing to have your mind, body, and spirit, and your heart right when you're ready to receive God's blessings. And that is my no cap.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate it. So with that, we come to the conclusion of this episode of Unfiltered Brothers. Make sure you follow us on all social medias: Facebook, Unfiltered Brothers; Twitter, Unfiltered Bros; Instagram, Unfiltered Brothers Podcast. And make sure y'all subscribe to our YouTube channel. We coming out with new segments as well. We got a new segment out, Unfiltered Arguments. Comment what y'all think about it, give us feedback and everything like that. But with that,
what do you know? Background music,
right? But with that,
music at the end of it.
Look, with that, we out. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay safe, and we gone.
Peace. We're out of here.
God bless you.